So, welcome to a new month. Oh, we are in October. Now, remember, the themes for the month that we use here at Vision coincide with the themes for the month for the Science of Mind magazine. So, it is a great way to stay immersed in what we're talking about on Sundays. Is it matches the articles in the magazine, matches the daily guides, matches the meditations. So we can talk about things that really at a deep level, and you can go home and all week long be immersed in that same theme. So the theme for October happens to be radical forgiveness. I know the F word, I know. So don't run screaming from the room, okay? You're going to have to just hang with it and just let it roll over you. Radical forgiveness, that's what we're talking about. We're here to tackle that theme all month long. And so we will take attendance and see who's trying to avoid it. So no running off. No, I'm just kidding. So let's talk about it. You know, today's talk is the F word. So let's talk about forgiveness. Before we even get into radical forgiveness, let's talk about forgiveness. You know, so what exactly is forgiveness? And why do we practice it? And why do we say it is so integral to our spiritual practice? All kinds of questions we're going to be answering. So let's set the scene, all right? We're talking about someone does something incredibly hurtful to us, right? Some kind of betrayal, something, you know. I'm talking real betrayal here. I'm not talking about someone takes your lunch out of the company fridge, you know. That's like the easy stuff. I'm talking real betrayal, you know. Someone tells your most intimate secret, you know, to that person, you know, that should never ever find out that stuff. Or someone slept with your significant other, and it was your sister, you know, or something. I mean, you know, something horrible. We're talking about horrible, you know, kinds of things, or, you know, or like lied about finances and like, you know, messed with things. So we're talking big stuff here. How do we forgive something like that? How do we forgive something? Why should we forgive something like that? Right? Isn't that sometimes the question that comes to your mind? And aren't those the things that keep us from forgiving? Is those questions like, well, why should I? They're the ones that did something wrong, not me. I was the victim. Oh, yeah, like that. Okay. Because we are hurt. Because we're hurt. How can someone we trust do something like that to us? See, it sets up our whole notion of order. It upsets everything that we think is true about life. It disturbs our illusion of control that we think we have over our lives. When we're blindsided by somebody's betrayal, it's really very frightening because it messes with our idea that we have control over our lives to begin with. And as long as we hang on to that idea of we've been betrayed, we're angry, we're upset, we're hurt, we continue to be angry. It's difficult to forgive when we're holding on to the hurt and the anger. It's almost like you can't feel those two things at the same time. And then there's that sense of justice, right? We want them to pay, damn it. They did something to us for which payment must be made. You know, there has to be payback. This is that like eye for the eye thing, you know. They hurt us, we got to do something back, you know. And sometimes we feel like to forgive is to let them off the hook. Oh, and that's kind of a wimpy, wishy-washy thing, right? Oh, if I forgive them, that means it was okay. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. Or we feel like if we forgive them, we've condoned what they've done. We've condoned somehow what they've done, you know. We fall back into that Old Testament idea, you know, an eye for an eye. We want justice. We want them to suffer like we suffered. Right? That's, you know, that's revenge. That's revenge. But if we can't actually deliver the harm ourselves, we'll just hold on to harmful thoughts about them, won't we? Oh boy, if I ever saw them, blah, 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 right? We have that picture in our minds. Boy, the next time, boy, if I ever, and we hang on to those harmful thoughts and feelings about them. We become grudge holders. Anybody here ever been a grudge holder in the past? That's a heavy burden to bear, let me tell you. That is quite a weight to carry around with you. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, if you are going to pursue revenge, dig 2 graves. Dig 2 graves. Because really what happens is our own resentments destroy us. Or it's our own resentments that destroy us. So sometimes, there's more to it than that, right? Sometimes we can't forgive because the other person hasn't apologized. You gotta love that one. The offender has not apologized for their behavior. They just keep justifying it, denying it, justifying it, defending themselves. Now, an apology is a powerful tool. And so when it does not happen, we can let that anger and resentment fester. But it's festering in our own bodies. It's not doing anything to the other person. And sometimes when the person who has betrayed us, sometimes when we look at that person, we reduce them to that one act, to that one behavior. They become that in our minds. Not the truth of them, which is a big, beautiful, gigantic, multifaceted gem of life, right? As God sees us, these multifaceted gems with all kinds of qualities. We take all of that and we reduce it down to that one little facet, that one thing that they did. And we can't see anything else but that one thing. And that's the truth about the commandment about bearing false witness. It's not making up lies about people. When we bear false witness against someone, that's really what we're talking about. We reduce this beautiful person who has all of these qualities and all these characteristics and all of these strengths and all of these weaknesses, and we reduce them down to that one facet and say, that's all they are. That's bearing false witness. And so we withhold forgiveness a lot of times because it puts us in the powerful seat. Sometimes our ego demands that we withhold forgiveness because then we're in the power. We are in the power. So we've been blindsided by this behavior that we had no control over, but I will not forgive you, and then therefore power is restored to me. I get to decide when and if I will ever forgive you. That's a lot of energy. Can you feel that? That is a lot of energy. So here's one of the things we have to remember. Forgiving is not forgetting. Forgiving is not forgetting. Forgiveness begins with a decision. That's it. It begins with a decision. Our decision. Nobody else's. Our decision to no longer suffer for someone else's past behavior. That's really all it is. Forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. I'm not saying we hold hands and we all sing Kumbaya and go out to lunch with each other. It's not the same. Forgiveness does not mean we revert back to the role of the victim. We were betrayed once. We don't have to go back there again and re-experience that. That's not what forgiveness is about. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person at all. In fact, C.R. Strahan said this: forgiveness has nothing to do with absolving the criminal of his crime. It has everything to do with relieving oneself of the burden of being a victim. Yay, amen is right. Forgiving is always, always, always a gift we give ourselves. It is always a gift we give ourselves. And why? Why, you may ask? Why is it a gift we give ourselves? Because forgiveness leads to the other F word, freedom. I saw you look. Freedom. Forgiveness leads to freedom. Forgiveness equals freedom for ourselves. for ourselves. No longer suffering from the past behaviors of others. We're no longer locked into the past. We're no longer locked into somebody else's behavior. You know, when you reduce that person to that one little facet and you plunk them in jail, right, in your mind, to that one behavior, and you lock them in there in place, they're stuck in the past, but you're stuck in the past right along with them. You're the warden. You've locked them there, but you have to stay there with them. And so you're not free as long as you are holding on to that state of unforgiveness. So we have to let them out, and we have to let them go, and that frees us. It doesn't do anything to them. They may not even know you're doing this work, and that's okay. You're doing the work for yourself. And so when we forgive and it frees us up, it brings us powerfully into the present tense. It brings us fully present into our own now, which is where all of our power resides anyway, the eternal now, this present moment, which is freedom, which is where we want to be. We always want to be in the now, in our power, knowing and manifesting and affirming our lives in the present moment. That's where we live. That's where our power is. So how do we forgive? Right? After making the decision to forgive, how do we proceed? How do we proceed? What do we do here? What do we know changes things? Come on. Yay! I love it. Oh my God. Yes, prayer. That's what we do. Pray. We pray. And you know, first and foremost, what is the prayer? Sometimes the prayer is just, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. You know, I mean, the prayer is not this big overarching, oh my God, I see as God sees, oh, you know, when the sky opens up. Sometimes all it is I'm praying to no longer suffer. Sometimes it's just the little willingness. Oh God, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. Let me see this differently. Maybe that's all the prayer is. I just pray to see this differently. And then we have to acknowledge our feelings, right? We have to let hurt be hurt. I don't want to go through any spiritual bypass, you know that religious science BS, belief system that says, I'm not here and it's not hot and it's all rainbows and whatever, the religious science in hell, I'm not here and it's not hot. That tendency we have to just, I'm not going to think about it, and then it doesn't exist. Well, it does exist. It did exist. You do have the feelings, so feel the feelings. And the feeling is hurt. The feeling is heartbroken. Let's not translate it into anger right away, because then you're not feeling the real underlying feeling. Anger is just the emotion that's the outpicturing of the hurt. But the hurt is what's really there to begin with. So don't rush through it. Take your time. Really feel that hurt. I know that sounds weird, but you know what I mean. Lean into it, because that's the feeling that the betrayal has had an impact on you. So feel that hurt. Don't do the bypass. Feel the feelings. You know the whole idea of what you resist persists, right? You've heard that. That's like a real, cliche here. Okay, what you resist persists. What you embrace, you transform. What you embrace, you transform. So you let the hurt be the hurt. You allow it to be. You feel the feeling. You lean into it, because when you really embrace it, when you really accept it for what it is, then you can move on. Then you can transform it. Then you're free to do something else with it. So first we cry. First we cry, then we hurt, then we're open about our pain. That's kind of just the first step. Then you want to get angry with the other person. Do that. Be angry with the other person. Be mad. Get those anger feelings up, because I got to tell you, it's a higher vibrational energy than self-loathing, right? Because what is that first level is, how could I be so stupid? How could I have been so stupid? How did I not see that? That's the first level of betrayal, right? Is the self-blame. What an idiot I am. What kind of an idiot am I? I don't know. How many kinds of idiots are there? It's like, I don't know. But there is that self-blame and that self-criticism and that self-condemnation at first. How stupid could I have been? How blind could I have been? Okay, so when you get past that hurt and that heartbrokenness, that next stage, the anger at the other person, that is a step up vibrationally. Getting angry at them, that's wonderful. It beats the hell out of self-flagellation and depression. So then you do get mad at the other person. And let that be what that is too, because that's a human emotion. That's exactly something we have to walk through too. Go with it, but go through it. You see what I'm saying? Don't build your house there. Don't park it there and live forever in anger over somebody else's behavior. But acknowledge itself for it. Just don't stay there. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, necessity demands we forgive if we are to be forgiven. When we forgive, holding no condemnation, judging no one, then our consciousness becomes a mirror reflecting that greater consciousness, which is the mind of God and the will of love. When we forgive, then we're reflecting that back at us. The mind of God and the will of love. When we really, truly forgive, then that's what we're doing. We're releasing that negative energy and we're seeing as God sees. So that leads us to, okay, so then now what do you want to feel? What do you want to feel? You've gone through these other steps, right? You've been hurt. You've been doing the crying thing. You have acknowledged your own feelings. Then you've acknowledged the feelings toward the other person. So what, now you've gone through all of that, walked through hell, the shadow of death. And what is it I do want to feel? That's where it leads us. What do I want to feel? Because our consciousness is that mirror that life keeps reflecting back at us, what do we want to feel? We don't want to feel betrayed forever, because then we just keep reflecting that back, don't we? And then somebody else does it, and then somebody else does it, and we set up an entire lifetime of people betraying us and treating us poorly because that's all we're concentrating on. That's where all of our energy is. So we choose to turn that around. We collapse that old story. This happened. This happened. Okay, so now what am I choosing to believe instead? What do I want to feel is true about life, about myself? Because our consciousness is that mirror. So we have to check in with ourselves, right? Because that's a big, broad question. How do I want to feel? That's a big, broad question. So kind of, let's get some focus. I don't want to hate the other person anymore. Now, you may for a while. That's okay. That was all in that anger thing, That was in the step of the anger. So you do want to hate the person for a while. But again, you don't stay there. So I don't want to hurt the other person anymore. I don't want to hate the other person anymore. I don't want to be angry anymore. How many of us have stayed in anger like way too long, right? Come on, be honest. Okay. Some of us stay in anger way too long. Some of us have, hold grudges way too long. Some of us build grudges in the backyard, We just stay there and we live there. Okay, so I don't want to hate this person anymore. I don't want to be angry anymore. It takes up way too much of my energy. I don't want to be sad anymore. That goes back to that heartbrokenness. I don't want to be sad anymore about this. I don't want to feel afraid anymore. That goes back to that initial feeling, right, of something happened that blindsided me. Oh my God, I've got no control over my life. I thought I did, but I don't. So it touches into that. I don't want to be afraid anymore. I want to be able to breathe again. And that's a really big one. We don't hang around long if you don't breathe. I want to be able to breathe again. Just breathe freely, breathe happily, breathe joyfully. I want to feel free. Leads you back to that F word again, right? Forgiveness equals freedom. Forgiveness equals freedom. I want to feel free. I want to be free of this situation, this condition. I want to let it fade into the past. I want to be free. I want to feel secure. I want to feel safe. So that's the starting point. These are all the things we want to feel. This is what we want to embrace. We want to get to the point where we can identify and align with the positive feelings regardless of what happened, regardless of the condition, because the condition's already in the past. It's already done and over with. And you don't want to stay in the past with it. So you want to align with the positive feelings in the present. And then we want to marinate in those feelings. We want to really, really create that essence, that those feelings are all around us and then they're in us and we're marinating in them. The feelings of freedom, the feelings of joy, the feelings of happiness, the feelings of power, the feelings of peace, all of those qualities of God that we know are the truth of us. We want to marinate in those. And all of this, can you see how all of this, all of these steps and all of these stages we're going through, they don't have a thing to do with the other person. They don't have a thing to do with the condition. They don't have anything to do with anybody else but how we want to be in the world, how we want to feel about ourselves, how we want to, the vibration we want to set up in our bodies. It has nothing to do with anybody else. So forgiveness is going through these stages. We've told our story. We've experienced it from the point of view of the victim. We have felt the feelings, really felt the feelings of betrayal. We've leaned into it. We've reframed it. We've taken our power back. We've taken our power back. We've decided to choose how we're going to feel from now on. We've aligned with the truth of our being. Nobody can hurt us, honestly, really. When you get down to the truth of it, we're spirit and form. We are spirit and form. Who can hurt that? Who can damage that? Who can destroy that? Nobody. We're spirit and form. And we've prayed all along too, right? We've prayed all along, let me see this differently. Let me see this as God sees this. Let me heal my broken heart. Ernest Holmes said healing is our birthright. So let me heal my broken heart. Let me do the work. And then you do the work and you do all these things. And then you get to the point where we're praying the other person in the situation too, aren't we? Yeah, that's where the radical part comes in. And you know, honest to God, that's where the third F word comes in. And we all know what that one is. Wait, what? You want me to pray the other person now? Excuse me. Oh, you know, F that. And I'm really talking about that F word. But we've done all the work. We've done all the work. And we're at that point. Now we get to pray them. We get to pray them. We get to pray to know them, to see them, to look at them, to refer to them in our own minds as God sees them. Innocent like we are. And we may not be able to do this at the beginning of the forgiveness process, but at some point, we do if we're to be truly free. We do this if we are to be truly free. If we're going to look back at that condition as if we're watching an old movie at one point in our lives, we're going to look back at it and go, oh yeah, remember that thing he did? Oh my God, wasn't that the stupidest thing on earth? And there's no judgment around it. There's no condemnation. There's no anger. There is only, oh yeah, I remember that. This is the part where we said, you know that the forgiveness work has really, really been done when they have safe passage through your mind. We get to that place. We get to that place. We want to do this to be completely free. We want to see them as God sees them. We want to pray them until they have safe passage through our minds. And that's huge. That's where the radical of radical forgiveness comes in. And that's a huge leap. That is a huge leap. But wait, there's more. Louis Smidas said this in Healing Hurts We Don't Deserve. He said, you will know that forgiveness has begun when you recall those who hurt you and feel the power to wish them well. Oh, breathe, people. Feel the power to wish them well. And I'm like, whoa. Slow your roll there, crouching tiger. I am not there yet, I am not there yet. That's one step further than giving them safe passage through a mind. Now you want me to wish them well? Okay, so that's when you go back to steps 1 and 2 and 3, because clearly you've not forgiven, So you go back to those other steps. You go back to the self-inquiry. You go back to the forgiveness work. You go back to the praying them. You go back to the seeing them as God sees them.